from a different style. Hi, hello, hi. Hi, Chinmay, are you able to join? I'm freezing from my other device. Ah, lovely.
Oh,
Finally, thank God. So, welcome, Chinmay Patgaonkar. Am I pronouncing it correct?
yep.
So, welcome. Just a moment for the live. Um, before I say anything else, how are you feeling
Uh,
for your live?
well, I was a bit nervous.
Okay. So was I, because I just got to know that you were 14 years old. I just did some research. I thought you were 16 years old, and then I realized, okay, 14.
I
Okay.
mean, I
Really
may, I
small.
may act like a 14-year-old or probably lesser, but actually I'm 17.
Oh, somebody said you're 14. Oh,
I,
okay.
actually, I was 14 when I wrote my first book.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, uh, I mean, but I mean, yeah. Currently, by age, I am 17. By my acts and my antics and all of that, the age might differ.
We will be the judge of that after we've read Ashoka's Secret, which, by the way, is something that I really enjoyed while preparing for this live. So, before we start the live and I start grilling you with questions, let's have an introduction about Chinmay Patgaonkar. Chinmay Patgaonkar is a teenager studying at Indus International School, Pune. He loves writing, reading, and traveling to new places. He takes a fervent interest in history, movies, books, and arts. Above all, he loves meeting people and exchanging stories. Lovely. He published his first novel in 2012 titled The Last 21 Hours, A Bullet That Shook the White House. Is that also a thriller?
Yeah.
And has recently published his second novel titled Ashoka's Secret. He lives in Pune with his parents, grandparents, his sisters, and his dog Angel. Wow, you're also a dog lover. Welcome, Chinmay. Welcome. This is a really great honor to have a conversation with a 17-year-old about his second novel, and it really gives me pleasure. Of all the things, I'm going to jump right in with a question that is very personal to me. On a when I was reading a book, when I was reading your acknowledgements, to be very frank about it, is that when you started writing the when I started reading the acknowledgements, there is somebody you have said have called the Robert Langdon of your life, and that is your sister. And
Yeah.
I'm a sister. I have a younger sister. I always feel for the sisters, and I'm like sisters supporting either elder siblings or younger sibling, either ways. So I wanted to know about. Tell us more about your Robert Langdon, your sister, because you have written, "You are my real life Robert Langdon, and the inspiration for my constant curiosity about history." So tell us a little more about how did your curiosity come from, and the relationship you shared with your sister.
Well, I mean, just like all siblings, there's always that, uh, those nice two words called sibling rivalry. Right. So that's obviously there amongst all siblings. But, one thing I would, like, credit to her is that she has really inspired me for, just like in terms of uh, being very curious about the subject, you know, and the love for history really comes from my sister. It just and it starts with the dinner table conversations at home. So that is probably something that really probably imbibed that passion, and that's probably something that it got me into that subject, and that's something that also got me quite passionate about it. And yeah, and not probably actually, it really got me into thinking of someone as an inspiration for Ashoka's Secret, and that has to be my sister.
Okay.
So the character of Ananya is actually based uh, on my
I
sister, while the
realized that.
name
I
is
was like,
actually
yes,
the
yeah.
name Ananya is, I mean, I stole it from my cousin. So,
Okay.
so yeah, it's like,
Okay, she
a
said.
good balance of getting two sisters into like one book. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. So she's made a, how would you say, she's made a guest appearance in the live, in the book. I mean,
yeah.
yes. Lovely. So, apart from your sister, what are these some of the particular authors who have affected your writing style, or who you got inspired for writing from your very first novel when you were 14? So, what drives your inspiration in writing your second book? What drove your
In
inspiration?
writing my second book, oh, okay. I mean, I had a kind of, I really do like, you know, uh, I do follow authors that really inspire me. The other day, I made a list of all the authors that really, who's like, writing I really admire,
Mm-hmm.
how it has affected me personally. But as far as the question goes for Ashoka's Secret, uh, I think a good amount of inspiration really comes from authors like Ashwin Sanghi, from authors like Dan Brown, and even also Jeffrey Archer as well. The way he really crafts his stories into a fast-paced manner. So all these authors are also what probably got me into this whole genre of historical fiction as well. So yeah, I guess that's something that I would really think of probably in the like when I'm writing, I probably think of okay, what is something that an author like Ashwin Sanghi did in his research, right? So what kind of sources would he have referred to? So in the research aspect of it, I think Ashwin Sanghi's process, of also making stories interesting is something that I'm heavily inspired by, and it's also a great learning.
Great, great. So, how was your? Let's start from the beginning, actually, because you're so young, and I keep reminding myself, but yet so much capable of writing a second novel. Wow, that is something I would have never imagined when I was 14. But here you are at 17. So, tell me your journey from your first book. Actually, I would like to know how was it being published when you were just 14 years old, and how did it happen? What made you reach be like maybe assertive in your own household that I want to write and I want to publish? So who was responsible for that push, or which part of your entire family spoke to you and said that let's write, let's publish?
I think, I mean, to be very honest and to be quite frank, I would say that I don't think any of them, I don't think anyone in my family really took it seriously. And,
Mhm.
I won't blame them, because the thing is, I'm the kind of guy who would change his career according to the movie that he's watched. Okay.
Ah,
So,
okay.
having this, when I told them that I'm working on a story, they thought it was like, one of those passing desires, because I was going through, such passing passions that I had during that time. So probably, they didn't really take it that seriously. But when I finished the last chapter of the last 21 hours, I showed it to my parents the next day, and they were shocked. Like, wait, you actually wrote this? And they didn't believe it for a moment. And they were like, okay, you know what? Now that you've written it, let's just go and publish it. But the thing is that during that time, it was like a lockdown. So, it was just like the country was still kind of recovering from COVID, like, through its initial stages. So it couldn't be, spread, but the way it was spread throughout the like the friend circle and all of that, and the family circle,
Mhm.
and the way it was such a warm and kind response I had received was quite heartwarming, and I'm quite grateful for that. And when I published the first book and I saw the copy of The Last 28 Hours in my hand, I don't think it's here, it's probably downstairs. But uh, yeah, and I thought, okay, you know what? If I've done it, if I wrote one book, let's try, writing another one. Let's see where it goes. Like that kind of gave me the confidence as well. That became a pathway to writing Ashoka's Secret, though it's a completely different story.
Oh yes, that's there itself. But let's come to your book now. So you have chosen a particular part of the history that's there in the title itself. But of course, I want to ask you straight away, why Ashoka? Of all the historical aspects, historical parts, why Ashoka? And yeah, let's start with that first.
I mean, it is not primarily focused on Ashoka per se, because somewhere I think it's yeah, though the first word of the title is Ashoka.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, it's not Ashoka in its in its own innate sense. But it is this legend or this sort of conspiracy that Ashoka had created a secret society after the destruction and the doom at Kalinga that he had witnessed, that he had caused himself, that led him to creating a secret society that would preserve 9 manuscripts for the benefit of humanity and revealing the right knowledge at the right time to the right people. And that was one thing that really caught my eye. So because somewhere like I was just reading this article about Ashoka's own secret society, or like the 9 unknown men, and that got me really completely hooked onto this because I had read Dan Brown before, okay, who has explored into the secret society trope with Robert Langdon as his character.
Yeah.
So I thought of assuming that this theory is true, let's write a story around it. Let's write a thriller around it. That kind of became the driving force to write Ashoka's Secret. So I guess it's not really Ashoka in its sense that okay, how he was as a king, the way he had created like a complete like a complete destruction, not just at Kalinga, but throughout India.
Mhm.
The kind of things that he had done, but also after a devastating war, uh, the belief that he had converted to Buddhism, and made made these uh, constructed these edicts and all these uh, things that are there in history. That aspect is not primarily there, but yeah, the aspect of the secret society is something that's there
Oh,
for sure. And certain monuments that are there are also included in this story.
yeah, yeah. That's there, of course. So you have written about more than what Ashoka represented as a ruler, because
Yeah.
your novel starts at a space where you can't where you're entering in a space where Ashoka is in dire states, and through that you think that, oh my god, what is this space that we are going to enter? And then we realize that the secret society, the concept of secret society that you got us into, it's about research. So where did this idea of and bringing in various subjects? It's not just limited to say researching on history. It's sociology, it's philosophy, and it just reminded me, when I was reading it, I was like, this is my so my sister did MPhil and then she's doing her PhD, and I'm like, this is my sister's life, because it just like, if you have opted for social sciences, you have to read everything about it. You cannot miss out. You know that your sister is doing a doctorate, and then one of your character is doing a doctorate. You cannot miss out on any topic. So why this research angle? And was your sister the inspiration? And how did you go about doing the research for that?
Uh, okay. I think I have to remember. This was about 2 years ago. But yeah, I guess the research aspect like has to come here because it's a given because I'm researching on a historical figure like Ashoka.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so the research had to be something that was a given. And I was used to it uh, because I am studying history, which requires a lot of research, requires reading a lot of other sources. Uh, Additionally, for my first book, I had to research a lot about USA, the political system, the government there, and how does the different whatever stuff that was there about the FBI and all of that was
Mm-hmm.
something that I had to research about. Uh, whatever was available and whatever was quite secure enough for me to you know, uh, like kind of take and probably put it in a story. So that's something that I was probably used to because it was such a challenge for me because I was someone who hadn't visited the US and plus a preteen or a teenager during that
Mm-hmm.
time who was researching on a lot of this stuff about a country that he has never visited. So research was something that I was probably quite immune to. So that's why I began researching on Ashoka, and uh, yeah, I kept reading different sources. I didn't take any help from my sister because I just wanted to like explore it on my own. And yeah, if I get stuck, I have my sister at home. Now she's in the UK, though back then she was here at home.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, thankfully I did not come across any such challenges. But yeah, I think the research process was a lot more intense.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so yeah, research was quite crucial. I had to go through different sources, and I had to try my best to also include them in the story. But there was also like a challenge to that.
Okay, okay. So, you have written historical fiction and it's a thriller,
Yeah.
which is a great combo. But there are like people have asked that he could have written more of.
Hmm.
It could have been a little more researched. So, what do you have to say about it? Because like Dan Brown has written about yeah, angels and demons. The whole concept is basically it's the talking about the Bible's Christianity, and so that becomes like a blurring line where he's talking about fiction or he's talking about non-fiction. So do you feel that whatever feedback you've got till now, I felt that sometimes you can overwrite history, but because it's a fiction. So I didn't feel the need to kind of justify it. But there are people out there who feel that if you are talking about history, do not dismantle it to an extent that you can't not able to kind of see the history that has been taught to them. So what do you have to say about this approach towards reading historical thrillers, to be very precise, actually, because that question always comes when it comes to history and thrillers.
Right. Yeah. When I so the first draft of Ashoka's Secret had about 60 plus chapters. Okay, and I had to cut it down to 34 chapters. Okay,
Okay.
I had to I had to remove nearly 50% of the chapters that were there because and I have uh, received feedback uh, in two ways. One way being that it's something that also included two. There was so many inconsistencies in the sense that there were a lot of historical aspects that were included. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
facts they kind of did slow down the pace of the thriller, of the thrill that was being built up. And additionally, some people say that, and the feedback that I've received is that uh, you know the so like a bit more could have been included in terms of the historical angle as well. So this I would say that I had because I had to cut down so many chapters was because
Mm-hmm.
uh, a it was like this, there were so many aspects where I was just moving around in circles. Sometimes that's also what happens in some of Dan Brown's chapters as well. And that's one problem that I had identified, and that's why I had to cut down so much of it. And I had to cut down so much that like it went to nearly 50% of the content that I had to remove because it wasn't making any sense, and because it was, uh, it was something that I had that was really slowing down the pace of the story, the flow of the story,
Mm-hmm.
because I was going to so many tangents and all of that. So I would you also yeah, this answer is something that would suit both who would want more of the historical angle and who weren't so satisfied with a lot of these facts I had put in. But I had because I had twice the number, but it wasn't really it was making me quite it was quite confusing to me as a writer as well. So imagine the how big of a massive confusion would be for the reader. Like the reader would instantly like if I personally would drop down the book, imagine what would be the case with the reader. So yeah, uh, that's where I feel that I had to bring about like an equilibrium or a balance between the two.
Okay, okay. So there is the concept of secret society. Where did that come from? And I what following up to what you said about it being like too much happening, and I noticed that there is like your book is like tuck 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 tuck, and in between there are facts, and then it goes again. You have picked up a pace, so that's something that you will learn over time. This is just this is just the beginning. But yeah, why a secret society? And what was your thought process behind writing a secret society?
I mean, yeah, I had come across this one source, as I'd like to call it, uh, that Ashoka had started a secret society, and assuming that this theory is true, I had started building like an entire story around it.
Mm-hmm.
So, certainly, Dan Brown probably was somewhat, he was the one who's very well known for having this secret society trope. Then, while researching, I came across books that were, like there's one book called The Nine Unknown by Talbot Mundy,
Okay.
who had created an entire story around this whole secret society aspect, and I didn't know that this was something that could be possible. And because Talbot Mundy had come across different like nine manuscripts in uh, in Ashoka's Pali and Prakrit language.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, there is this another book by a journalist and by two people. One is a journalist and one is an alchemist, Louis Pauls and Jack Bourget. Both of them wrote, co-authored a book about, different about mysticism and secret societies. One chapter includes India and India's very own secret society, the Nine Unknown, and its link to a Vatican Pope. Okay,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
so I came across these sources, and whatever these sources implied. I mean, I couldn't write anything controversial as well. So I kind of took it in my own way to kind of build my own, uh, recipe around this whole secret society
Mm-hmm.
story. So that was something that was a challenge, and plus these sources that I had read were quite intriguing. So I thought of using certain facts to kind of use certain sense of intrigue. But like not like these facts are so directly included linked to the Nine Unknown or to any secret society for that matter. But the historical angle in terms of the monuments and all of that was something that I had included in order to build intrigue so that the reader knows how and why are these like these historical elements linked to a thriller in this story.
Okay. So I wanted to, coming back to your writer's journey, you are right now on your second book. So I wanted to know that um, when you were researching, you said that you read Ashwin Sanghi. So, and I have felt that
Actually,
in
I
historical
read
fiction,
Ashwin Sanghi much before. I mean, I think I read Ashwin Sanghi. Yeah, I mean, I'd finished all of his books before I started writing my first book.
okay, that's good news. So, have you read his recent works?
Uh, I've read Magicians of Mazda for sure. I haven't
Oh,
read, I think it was called Razor Sharp. I haven't read that yet. I'm quite
okay,
attached to the historical fiction, historical thriller, Ashwin Sanghi.
okay. So, Asta is here. Hi, Asta. So, Asta asks, why did you choose Ashoka only and not any other king to actually connect the story to? Yeah, so he has answered that. The answer is because.
Because of a theory, or of a possible legend, that Ashoka had started a secret society after the Kalinga War. And that is something that, and like, assuming that this story is true, I built an entire thriller around it. So
Uh,
it's not really Ashoka
Thanks,
itself.
Asta.
It's just this one angle of a secret society that could be, that is a legend. And asking that what if question is what led to writing Ashoka's secret. Though I'm not saying that, okay, this secret society exists, or
Uh-huh.
such an underground syndicate may exist. I'm just I'm using it entirely in a fictional angle, because otherwise, I'm not going to say it's true. And also, yeah, like, I'm not nowhere am I admitting, or do I recognize any existence of such secret societies.
It's completely fine. So, coming back to your, you are getting nervous. Don't get nervous. So, coming back to your writing style, writing journey, actually not style. I want to ask you, because there are all kinds of readers, and in historical fiction, there are readers who are very particular when they actually read the genre. I'm a very avid historical fiction reader, and I find it, apart from Ashwin Sanghi, I find it very hard that there is somebody who is writing historical fiction thriller. So, do you feel that you are going to be someone who is going to be recognized as someone who writes historical fictions, historical thrillers, maybe 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line? Is that your 5 year plan?
Uh, no, actually, to be quite frank, I don't really want to stick to one particular genre. I think, uh, as a person, I really think that I can do everything. uh, but yeah, I mean, I don't think I can. I would like to stick to one particular genre. I would love to explore different genres that are there. Asta asked, a question in the comments. Do you want to stick to writing historical fiction only? I may write, two, three stories around it, but I don't want to really stick to it. In the long run, I would want to explore different genres. So yeah, I would love to do that.
Okay. And the second part of this question is that because there are so many types of readers, 5 year plan that to writing feels like an
I
interview
agree.
question.
I agree. I agree.
It's not because, or maybe a 2 year plan, maybe. Asta, that's not an interview question. But let's talk
I
about
don't think I'm in
feedback.
the appropriate attire. I thought this, like, I didn't know it was a corporate interview.
Oh my god, it's not, it's definitely not. But I wanted to ask you about your reaction or your feeling towards reviews, because you're just 17. There is, and even if you have written, this is your second book, big feat, big feat, and as in a big achievement to be able to writing your second novel. So I wanted to know that how does it feel that saying that so how does it feel to get the reviews, to maybe somebody didn't like it or somebody did uh, loved it. So how does this oscillate? what is the feeling that oscillates between, oh, they like my book, oh, they took out these, these are the faults that they took out. So how do you deal with that? Is that something that you're going like, I have time, something, or does it like say that, no, yeah, this pinched, yeah, this is really brutal? Because I will be very honest, it like people of all kinds will read your book and they will have an opinion. So this is something that I have always talked to authors about, that they are going to be people of different kinds, and they will maybe love your book, maybe hate your book. So what is that feeling when you when you get your reviews? Because at 17 I do not know what the feeling of getting a bad review is going to be. Because I was partying hard, so I have no idea that what does it feel like when you read a not a good review, if not say call it bad.
In all honesty, I mean, like I react to it in two ways. One being that, like, oh God, really? There's that emotion that's there. But it's only there for like a couple of seconds. Because then I realized that, okay, you know what? If I like can detach myself from the story, okay, and that entire writing journey that I've been through, and just focus on, okay, this is the feedback that I'm getting. Okay, I know what not to do going forward. Okay, and since I'm 17, this will help me in the long game of writing. So whatever feedback I'm receiving, right? Okay, I mean, like, yeah, okay, if it's quite harsh, then some it'll pinch for a while, but then if I really understand what's something that this person didn't like, I can use it in the long run to write other books as well, or write other stories and whatever like I'm doing going forward. Uh, and to a certain point, yeah, people not every single person is going to like a book. I mean, we're a population of what, 8 billion worldwide. Everyone is going to have different points of view. So
Yep.
certainly, I mean, literature is subjective. Perceiving different stories will be subjective. Some people will like it, some people won't like it. And yeah, you can't please everybody. So you just have to move on and focus on your craft.
Yeah, you can, as is said, that you cannot be liked by everybody, you cannot please everybody. That's so true. But I wish at 17 I had such a good understanding as you do. Really, children have really evolved, because I'm not a child anymore. So really a different perspective, and a very fresh perspective to hear from you. So for me, my questions are done. Does anybody in the audience have questions?
But
Please
I'll
don't.
say one thing. I'll say one thing. Uh, I can't really, this is what you're seeing on camera, like on this live. Okay, that's the mature me. Off camera, I am a complete riot.
Yeah, you are. So you're saying that you off camera you are
A complete riot.
complete,
Riot.
right? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and
So this is you
the
being
kind of
okay.
yeah,
This is you being the
the kind of
author.
nonsense my mother has dealt with is just, oh my God. There's no list about it. There's an Excel sheet.
Okay, there is an Excel sheet. Great. Lakshjeet has a question. Hi, Lakshjeet. Good to have you here in the audience. Please go ahead and ask the question. I think he's typing. So, how many people have actually come up to you in DMs and said that, bro, what is this you have written? People have come
Like, like in a good way or a bad way.
both ways. We would love to know, because you're
Yeah, I
17.
mean,
That's why.
uh, actually none.
Okay, none. So he has two personalities. The one that is good, and the one that is raw. Okay. Astas is saying that you have a raw personality as well. And which one is this, a good one or is this a raw one?
I have a quirky and a very goofy one. If you want to replace that with the raw one, I think that's more or less, that's more or less appropriate.
Ah, so Lakshjeet, I think he kind of disconnected. Lakshjeet, are you there? Yeah, the one is off camera is raw. Nice, nice. That's good to know. You were there in the World Book Fair in
Yeah,
February.
yeah. I did see you at the World Book
Yeah,
Fair. I think
yeah.
yeah.
We all interacted with
Hmm.
all of you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Ritesh was there.
It was
So let's
really
see this that.
fun.
I haven't read the novel yet, but I have a question. In what ways does Ashoka's ambition serve as both a strength and a flaw in the novel? How does this duality affect his character as spiritual, uh, spiritualistic, as spirituals? Is that what the question is? Yeah.
Uh, I have a question. In what ways does Ashoka's ambition serve as both a strength and a flaw in the novel? Oh,
Spiritualist. Uh,
okay. I mean, I won't. Okay, from what I have read so far, like through the sources that I've referred to, and from the and like whatever I've written so far, I believe that Ashoka has, at least what is portrayed in the history books is that, you know, there's like a transition that's there in his personality because, you know, from whatever I have read so far, he has been portrayed as a ruthless king. He has been portrayed as someone who would really torture people, created dungeons so that people could be tortured and killed in these specific areas. That is one dark and very murky aspect. But there's
okay.
also an aspect of Buddhism that is there. Now there are a lot of controversies around Ashoka. Okay, and even I had to play it safe, pick my own narrative because history is all about narratives. It is a social science. That's why it's subjective.
Hmm.
So what I would say is that ambition, yes, it can be good, it can be bad, but I think Ashoka may have also understood the costs of his over ambitious over ambitious thoughts, his over ambitious plans. And he saw the result of that in Kalinga as well. But I'm no one to comment on Ashoka or secret societies. I'm no expert in that.
Hmm.
But I think uh, yeah, he has two sides. There are two sides of the same coin in Ashoka. The dark aspect, the more spiritual aspect toward when he was on the path of Buddhism. There are dozens of controversies around it, dozens of different theories around it. But uh, the aspect of a thriller in his secret society angle is something that you'll find in Ashoka's Secret.
Okay, so that's the duality effect here on his character as a spiritualist.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So there is this the secret the aspect of him, and also the spiritualistic, where you also talk about. I actually forgot to talk about it, but you also talk about Buddhism in the novel. In the very beginning, and you actually start your novel with the chant before everything else. Yeah, would you tell everybody? I'm very bad at pronouncing. Please do, Jay, read it.
You now have to read it. Where is it? Isn't it like,
It's it's in the beginning.
oh, okay. Uh, yeah. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge in the Buddha. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge in the Sangha. And Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge in the Dharma. Which means I take refuge in Buddha, which means enlightenment and knowledge. Because while Googling it, that's what Buddha stood for. I take refuge in the Sangha, which means the community, which means I take refuge in the community and the people around me, all of that. That's how I perceive it. I take refuge in the Dharma means, I take refuge in probably, like righteousness or in my duty and all of that. So these are the three refuge. I don't know how, what's the exact pronunciation. Uh, but yeah, these are the three laws of refuge, I think. That's what was mentioned in one of the sources. And yeah, they have different, interpretations, different definitions. But yeah, this is also something I quite believe in. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, also, yeah, well, like coming back to the question, that was a very interesting question that Lakshji had asked. I think Ashoka can be a good example of change as well because he was someone who went into like a deeply ruthless person to now being someone who's like deeply spiritual. So yeah, I mean, like that can be one example of how you kind of shed your past to like start with a clean slate. So yeah, I guess that's also something that Ashoka can be an example of.
So, what does the chant signify for you as a author writing about Ashoka, besides the Buddhism part for it?
I mean, in all honesty, like yeah, it is a chant that is quite significant to Buddhism, but you know, I think personally, it is quite frequent. There are frequent mentions of this chant in the story as well. So I chose to kind of keep it at the top because, and also it has an angle of Buddhism as well. That's why.
Okay, great. So, coming to the Kalinga War, Lakshit has asked another question. Do you think, like Mahabharata as an epic, like Mahabharata is, can Kalinga War be considered as an epic too? If yes, in what ways?
Uh, I don't think I would consider Kalinga War to be an epic because Kalinga was something that it was an actual war that was fought, and it was not like a complete. An epic is kind of like a saga or a story built, right? So I don't. Uh, I wouldn't say Kalinga War per se could be an epic, uh, but I would. But why are Ramayana, Ramayana or Mahabharata or what was that? It was a Greek uh, epic or a Roman epic. I'm not sure. Uh, Helen of Troy. Like all of that
Mhm.
is also there in that particular epic. That's because it is a piece of literature. Kalinga War. I mean, I'm not sure if it can be considered as an epic per se. Uh, I mean, unless someone really, yeah, Trojan War, yeah, Trojan War. Thanks. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Kalinga War can be an epic. I haven't really thought of that.
Okay. I'm also to be brushing up on the Kalinga War because after reading Ashoka's Secret, so I read one of these books of on Indian cities of ancient and medieval times, which was about how the Harappa civilization is connected to the South India. So reading a lot of history, but I have to brush up also on my history because I read it in it's been 15 not 15 some 10 years to me graduating,
History
so
can be quite controversial and subjective because there's so many sources around it and so
oh
many
yeah,
different
the
narratives that are at play. So it can be
history
quite
can
difficult
also,
to pinpoint the exact thing.
yeah, that is what actually is something I have actually asked a lot of authors, but you understand that because you also answered it, that there are so many narratives in the how would you say, the history, and a
Hmm.
lot of people are have there are people who want to write certain things, and there are people who do not agree with certain things, so you cannot so then that comes down to that, okay, some authors would not be read by some people and some authors will be read, so you can it becomes that, what Asa had said, that you are not an ice cream, you can't please everyone. So even though I know people who don't even like ice cream, so like so that's always going to be there, but yes, that is something that we all learn, and that's it from my side. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask Chinmay. This has been a wonderful conversation, Chinmay, because
Likewise.
this is your second, yeah, and it was great interacting with also the audience. Thank you so much for coming. It was Chinmay, this your second novel. I hope it goes, like to whatever lengths you wanted to go, to whatever heights you wanted to go. And with all the feedback that you get, I am so glad that you are going to learn from it. And always something that, because I am I am at that position where I can tell you that always take the constructive feedback, and it will just help you a lot in evolving as a
Yeah,
writer. So
I'll follow the great piece of advice, and yeah, I will ensure that I follow it. And yeah, I was really pumped to be here. And yeah, like thank you so much for having me over here. And yeah,
likewise.
yeah, I don't know what else to say.
No, it's okay. We are at one point of time we can actually go offline from social media. So thank you so much for coming, Chinmay. It was wonderful, and that's all from my side. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night. All the best, Chinmay. Many best wishes for your upcoming book, and I will surely read Ashoka's Secret soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And we will also be back with another live soon. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining once again. Thank you. It was a pleasure, Chinmay. I could he's commenting. Wow, so cool, man. Thanks, Ashmira. Bye bye.